My good friend wants me to test his wife. He wants me to flirt with her and see if she will fall for my gestures. This is the second request he has made of me concerning his wife, and honestly, it's been weighing on my mind for weeks now. When they were dating, I was there from the very beginning. He introduced her to me at a small gathering at his apartment. She walked in wearing a simple blue dress, and I remember thinking she had one of those smiles that could light up any room. We hit it off immediately as friends. She was easy to talk to, laughed at my terrible jokes, and seemed genuinely interested in getting to know her boyfriend's friends. That's the kind of person she was, warm and welcoming. At one point during their dating phase, he asked me to get her a job. She had just finished her degree and was struggling to find work in her field. My company was hiring at the time, and he thought I could put in a good word for her. I tried my best, even spoke to my manager about her qualifications, but the position required more experience than she had. I couldn't get her the job, but through those interactions, the phone calls about interview prep, the coffee meetings where we discussed her resume, the text messages about job hunting tips, I became friends with the lady too. She is a very beautiful woman, not just physically, but in the way she carries herself. She has this grace about her that makes people want to be around her. A woman you could leave here today, and another man would pick her up tomorrow. That's not an exaggeration. I've seen how men look at her when we're all out together. She either doesn't notice or pretends not to, always keeping her attention on her husband. When they got married, I was there, not just as a guest, but as an active participant in their special day. I was their chauffeur on the occasion, driving them from the ceremony to the reception in my car that I had cleaned and decorated with white ribbons. She looked radiant in her wedding dress, and he couldn't stop smiling. They seemed so happy, so perfect together. During the reception, they danced to their favorite song, and everyone watched with tears in their eyes. It was one of those moments where you think, this is what true love looks like. The first few months of their marriage seemed blissful. They moved into a nice apartment downtown, hosted dinner parties, and always appeared together at social events. She would cook his favorite meals, and he would surprise her with flowers every Friday. They had inside jokes that made them laugh until their stomachs hurt. Everyone envied their relationship. Then came the news that changed everything. My friend got a job offer abroad, a position too good to refuse. The pay was triple what he was making here, and it came with benefits that would set them up for life. They discussed it for weeks. She couldn't go with him immediately because of her own job and some family obligations. They decided he would go first, get settled, and she would join him later. A few months after the marriage, my friend traveled abroad, leaving the lady in Canada. The airport goodbye was emotional. She cried, he cried, and even I got a bit teary-eyed watching them. They promised each other it would only be temporary. She would wrap up her affairs here and join him within 6 months. That was the plan. But 6 months turned into a year. Then a year turned into 2. He has been away for over 2 years now. First, her mother got sick and needed care. Then there were visa complications. After that, she got a promotion at work that was too good to leave immediately. There was always something keeping them apart. Despite the distance, they are in constant communication. Or at least they were. They had a routine. Morning texts, lunch break phone calls, and evening video chats. She would show him what she cooked for dinner, and he would give her virtual tours of his new city. They made it work. Or so it seemed. He called me one evening about 3 months ago. It was late, probably around 11 p.m. my time. His voice sounded different, strained and worried. I suspect my wife is cheating. Can you investigate her for me? That was the first request. The words hung in the air between us. I was shocked. This was the same couple I had watched exchange vows, promising to trust each other through thick and thin. I asked what made him draw such a conclusion. He explained that his wife had been missing his evening calls recently. Their 8 p.m. video chat, which had been sacred for 2 years, was suddenly becoming irregular. She would be out with friends or stuck in traffic or having dinner with colleagues. The excuses kept coming, each one flimsier than the last. What bothered him most was the video calls. He would call her on video, and she wouldn't pick up. The phone would ring, and she wouldn't answer. then only for her to call back at dawn, sometimes 5 or 6 a.m. her time, telling him she had fallen asleep. How does someone fall asleep at 8 p.m., he asked me. And if she did fall asleep, why didn't the phone ringing wake her up? He had more evidence, he said. Her social media activity had changed. She was posting less about their relationship and more about nights out. There were new people in her photos. People he didn't recognize. Male colleagues who seemed too friendly. She had joined a gym and was suddenly very concerned about her appearance. She bought new clothes, changed her hairstyle, and seemed happier than she had been in months. Maybe she's just trying to keep herself busy, I suggested. Being alone can be hard. No, he insisted. I know my wife. Something's different. I can feel it in my bones. I agreed to investigate, but I never did. Not really. The thought of spying on her made me uncomfortable. This was a woman I considered a friend, someone who had trusted me with her fears about her long-distance marriage. How could I betray that trust? But he was also my friend, and he was hurting. So I found myself caught in the middle. He would call every few days, and I would give him fake information. I drove by her place, and her car was there. I saw her at the grocery store, and she was alone. Everything seems normal from what I can see. He wanted more. He wanted me to go there in the evenings to secretly spy on her. He had it all planned out. I would park down the street and watch her apartment. I would note what time she came home, if she was alone, and if anyone visited. He wanted detailed reports, times, dates, descriptions of any visitors. This is crazy, I told him once. If you don't trust her, why don't you just talk to her? Because if she's cheating, she'll lie, he said. I need proof. I need to know for sure. One evening, he orchestrated a test. He called his wife while I was lurking around her house. I felt ridiculous sitting in my car like some private detective. Her car wasn't parked in her usual spot, so it meant she wasn't home. I texted him this information, but when talking to her husband on the phone, she told him she was in the house. I could hear their conversation because he had me on another phone, listening in. According to my friend, she said she was cooking dinner. He could hear the clanking sounds of silverware and pots in the background. She described the pasta she was making, complained about how the sauce wasn't turning out right. After their call ended, he called me immediately. You see? She's lying. She's not even home, but she's pretending to be. What is she hiding? I didn't know what to say. The evidence seemed damning. Why would she lie about being home? But I also thought about all the possible innocent explanations. Maybe she had just gotten home and I missed her. Maybe she parked somewhere else. Maybe she was at a friend's house cooking. To keep him calm, I also confirmed that she was indeed in the house. She's there. I could see her from the window. It was a complete lie. I couldn't see anything from where I was parked, and I wasn't about to go creeping around her windows like some stalker. This went on for weeks. The constant checking, the fake reports, the growing paranoia. He analyzed every conversation with her, looking for inconsistencies. If she said she was tired, he wondered why. If she seemed happy, he suspected she was seeing someone. If she seemed sad, he thought it was guilt. I tried to be the voice of reason. Long-distance relationships are hard, I told him. People grow and change. It doesn't mean she's cheating, but he wouldn't listen. His mind was made up. She was cheating, and he just needed proof. One day, I decided to actually visit her. Not to spy, but just to check in as a friend. I called her on the phone and told her I was in the neighborhood. I was wondering if I could stop by for a coffee, I said. Of course, she replied warmly. I'm just home doing nothing. I love the company. When I got there, she looked tired. There were bags under her eyes, and she seemed thinner than I remembered. We sat in her living room, and she made us tea. We talked about work, about the weather, about everything except her husband at first. Then she brought him up. I miss him so much, she said, her eyes getting watery. This distance is killing me. I feel like we're growing apart, and I don't know how to stop it. I felt guilty sitting there, knowing why I was really there. She trusted me, and here I was, sent by her husband to spy on her. But I also saw an opportunity to help their relationship. "Have you told him how you feel?" I asked. "I try," she said. "But every conversation feels like an interrogation lately. He asks where I've been, who I was with, what I was doing. It's exhausting. I feel like he doesn't trust me anymore." That's when I made a decision. I called my friend on video right then and there. "Hey, I'm at your wife's place," I said when he answered. "Thought we could all chat." His face lit up seeing us together. We all talked and laughed like old times. She seemed genuinely happy to see him, and he relaxed for the first time in weeks. We all vibed and said goodnight after about an hour. After I left, I thought that would be the end of it. I had shown him that she was just a lonely woman missing her husband, not some cheating spouse sneaking around. But I was wrong. A week later, he called with a more difficult task. His voice was serious, more determined than before. "Since you've been going there, why don't you try to seduce her and see if it will work?" I nearly dropped my phone. "For what?" I asked, hoping I had misheard him. He responded without hesitation. "If she's cheating outside, then it would be easier for her to cheat with you. You're already friends. She trusts you. Try for me. That girl is cheating. My intuition tells me so." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. This was his wife, the woman he claimed to love, and he wanted me to try to seduce her? The logic was twisted. If she was faithful, she would reject me. If she wasn't, she would accept my advances. Either way, he would have his answer. "That's insane," I told him. "You're asking me to potentially destroy your marriage just to satisfy your paranoia." "It's not paranoia if I'm right," he insisted. "And if she's faithful, then nothing will happen. No harm done." But there would be harm. If I tried to seduce her and she rejected me, it would ruin our friendship. She would tell him, and he would have to pretend to be surprised and angry. If by some chance she didn't reject me, then what? Would he want details? Would he want proof? How far was he expecting this to go? I asked if he wanted to divorce her. Maybe that's what this was really about. Maybe he had met someone else abroad and was looking for an excuse to end things. He said he only wanted to know if she was being faithful. "I just need to know the truth," he said. "I can't live with this uncertainty." I told him that was far-fetched, and it wasn't going to work because she knows me. She sees me as your friend, like a brother. It would be weird and suspicious if I suddenly started flirting with her. "Then be subtle," he said. "Start slow. Compliment her more. Touch her arm when you talk. See how she responds." The whole conversation made me sick. This wasn't the friend I knew. The distance and suspicion had turned him into someone else, someone I didn't recognize. I told him he should rather use someone else, someone she didn't know. "I can't trust anyone else," he said. "You're the only one I can count on." I ended the call without giving him a definite answer. I needed time to think, to process what he was asking of me. How had it come to this? How had a beautiful marriage turned into this game of suspicion and tests? For some time now, he hasn't mentioned it again. It's been about 3 weeks since that conversation. Maybe he found someone else to do it. Maybe he gave up trying. Or maybe he found a better way to spy on her. He still calls me occasionally, but we talk about other things. Work, sports, anything but his wife. But the whole situation has been eating at me. I see her posts on social media, and she looks sad. The vibrant woman I knew seems to be fading. She posts quotes about strength and perseverance, about waiting for better days. It breaks my heart because I know what's causing her pain, and she doesn't even know the half of it. I've thought about telling her everything, about how her husband has been having me spy on her, about his suspicions, about the seduction plan. But what good would that do? It would destroy their marriage for sure. She would never trust him again, knowing he had been spying on her through me. But my question is, Should I give his wife a heads up? Not tell her everything, of course. I'm not going to tell her that her husband is investigating her. That would be too much, too devastating. But maybe just something subtle to let her stay focused. Maybe I could casually mention that long-distance relationships require extra communication. Maybe I could suggest she be more responsive to his calls, more understanding of his insecurities. Maybe I could help her see that his behavior, while wrong, comes from a place of fear and loneliness. Or maybe I should talk to him instead. Tell him that his suspicions are poisoning their relationship. That if he continues down this path, he'll lose her not because she cheated, but because he pushed her away with his lack of trust. I think my friend is looking for a divorce and is hunting for her mistake so he can rely on that for the divorce. Maybe the distance has made him realize he doesn't want to be married anymore. Maybe he's met someone else and needs an excuse to end things without being the bad guy. If she cheats, he can play the victim. He can tell everyone that he tried to make it work, but she betrayed him. It's a terrible thought, but it makes sense. Why else would he want his own wife to fail a fidelity test? Why else would he be so determined to prove she's cheating, even without any real evidence? The missed calls and changed behavior could easily be explained by the stress of a long-distance relationship. I've seen what this distance has done to both of them. She's lonely and trying to build a life while waiting for a reunion that keeps getting postponed. He's isolated in a foreign country, probably surrounded by temptations of his own. The trust that once bound them together is fraying, and instead of working to repair it, he's actively trying to cut it. What really bothers me is that I'm caught in the middle. I never asked for this role. I was just trying to be a good friend to both of them. Now I'm keeping secrets, telling lies, and feeling guilty every time I talk to either of them. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I had just been honest from the beginning. If I had told him I wouldn't spy on his wife, that he needed to trust her or let her go. If I had told her about his suspicions so they could work through them together. But I chose the coward's path, trying to keep everyone happy and ending up helping no one. The whole situation has made me think about trust in relationships. How fragile it is. How easily it can be broken, not by actions, but by doubts. They had something beautiful, something most people search for their whole lives. And now it's crumbling, not because of anything she did, but because of what he thinks she might have done. I keep hoping things will get better. That he'll come to his senses and realize he's destroying his marriage with his suspicions. That she'll sense something is wrong and fight harder to reassure him. That they'll find a way to close the distance between them, both physical and emotional. But hope feels naive at this point. The damage might already be too deep. Even if she passes all his tests, will he ever truly trust her again? And if she ever finds out about these tests, will she ever forgive him? Some betrayals cut too deep to heal. So I'm left with this dilemma. Do I continue to stay silent and watch their marriage slowly implode? Do I speak up and risk being the catalyst that ends it all? Or do I find some middle ground, some way to help them without revealing the full truth? What do you think? What would you do in my position? Would you protect the friendship with him by keeping his secrets? Would you protect her by warning her about what's happening? Or would you walk away from the whole situation and let them sort it out themselves?